The government of Ghana, with the support of the World Bank and the USAID, presents GCAP Diaries. The Diaries showcases the success stories of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project being implemented by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The project is looking at what you call the food security crops.
This drying floor project has been a major intervention from GCAP, and we are very grateful.
We train them on how to grow lettuce, aubergines, spring onions, and on how to grow basil.
We gave them $130,000 as the GCAP support.
Watch GCAP Diaries on GTV every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Ghana has great potential for commercial farming, with large tracts of land available with excellent soil and climate suitable for the production of many crops. Lake Volta, the world's largest man-made lake, is fed by an extensive system of rivers. Labor is comparatively inexpensive. Together, Ghana's vast resources of arable land with a lot of water for irrigation and available labor makes it ideal for commercial farming of key staple crops such as maize, soya, and rice. Maize is Ghana's #1 staple crop, followed by rice, and domestic demand for both is growing. Between 2010 and 2014, rice demand grew at a compound annual growth of 11.8% and maize at 2.6%. However, the country is not self-sufficient in either of its two most important staple crops, as Ghana has experienced average shortfalls in domestic maize supplies of 12% and domestic rice supplies of 69% in recent years. Maize, soya, and rice production are currently dominated by smallholder farmers who rely on rain-fed conditions with limited use of improved seeds, fertilizer, mechanization, and post-harvest facilities. Investors in commercial farming have the opportunity to realize yields per hectare of 5.0 to 5.5 metric tons in maize, 4.5 metric tons in soya, and 4.0 to 4.5 metric tons in rice, using the best agricultural practices in order to capitalize on the large and growing demand for these critical staple crops in Ghana. One such investor grabbing the bull by the horn with an insatiable desire to succeed against all odds is the Savanna Agric and Trading Company Limited, SATCO, based in Chirponi in the northern region. Established in 2008, the company cultivates, processes, and markets commodities like soya beans, rice, and maize. It has a mechanization center which services its farm equipment and that of smallholder farmers. The company processes its harvested rice to sell to mainly second cycle institutions in the northern region.
Our objective is to increase our farm yield and also to extend our services to other smallholders farmers in the community. Open up a mechanization center to service our farms and also carry out some duties to smallholders farmers in the Chirponi district.
The company had 1,375 acres of undeveloped land suitable for rice cultivation that it didn't have the resources to develop. It also had little or no technical and extension services in good agronomic practices, land use, and management practices for higher productivity for its outgrowers. The company works with 200 outgrowers consisting of 120 women and 80 men who were enthusiastic and ready to expand their smallholder farms in order to increase productivity. A major limitation, however, was land availability and the necessary agronomic skills and knowledge to aid increased productivity.
The problems we were facing before we applied to GCAP was land preparation. How to develop the land was a problem to SATCO, because this area is covered with so many trees, and with that facilities to approach the trees was a problem. So GCAP coming into our aid, we have been able to clear the trees at the moment that I'm talking. We have been able to increase the size of our farm. When we farm, how to store our farm produce was a problem to us. Sometimes we even put them in open place where the farm produce is exposed to the weather, which has even made us to lose most of our farm produce from it. Another problem we were facing was lack of training, because we do not have the technical men to train us or the outgrowers to increase our farm yield. We are having a problem of how to apply fertilizer, how to use weedicide, even how to know the time for farming. We are having a problem for that. And then also how to group ourselves was another problem, a challenge to us. We also have a problem of how to negotiate prices with dealers was another challenge to us. How to get inputs to apply for our farm was another challenge to us. How to keep records on our farm too was another problem, a challenge to us. Even sometimes how to market our farm produce was another problem to us.
Consequently, the farm applied to GCAP for funding to develop a 1,375-acre land for rice cultivation. This comprised of uprooting trees, removal of stumps, leveling, plowing and harrowing of the land. Some of the funds were used to construct a 500 metric ton capacity warehouse and strengthen the capacity of SATCO's outgrowers in the following areas: group formation and dynamism, bookkeeping, sound agronomic practices for rice, negotiation on pricing and conflict management for win-win situations. Staff of SATCO were also given technical training in new agronomic practices. The company was linked to the TRACK program under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, which is providing laboratory equipment for the newly constructed warehouse.
With the support of GCAP, SATCO was given a training for good agronomic practice, negotiation of prices, bookkeeping, conflict management. SATCO did not end it there. SATCO also trained its outgrowers for good practices, which is good agronomic practice, record keeping, negotiation of price, and how to manage conflicts. With the training we received from GCAP, today we have been able to increase our farm produce. SATCO and its outgrowers have been able to increase their farm productivity, which has reduced poverty in this area. Because at first, when we farm, we get 5 to 6 bags per acre. But today it has increased from 11 to 15 bags per acre. Today, with the support of GCAP, we have a 500 metric ton capacity warehouse where we can confidently store our farm produce. So now the farmers, they can be able to pay their children's school fees. They have more money on them, and they are sure of buying how to sell their farm produce. They are now sure of how to sell their farm produce. They know with the support of SATCO, they will get good market.
The government of Ghana, with the support of the World Bank and the USAID, presents GCAP Diaries. The Diaries showcases the success stories of the Ghana Commercial Agriculture Project being implemented by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture.
The project is looking at what you call the food security crops.
This drying floor project has been a major intervention from GCAP, and we are very grateful.
We train them on how to grow lettuce, aubergines, spring onions, and on how to grow basil.
We gave them $130,000 as the GCAP support.
Watch GCAP Diaries on GTV every Thursday at 6:30 p.m.
Grants were awarded to farmers to help spur the growth of agribusinesses by addressing their self-identified crippling needs. The smallholder farmers and outgrowers are the ultimate beneficiaries. GCAP's model is to promote and facilitate the transfer of modern farming practices, knowledge, and technology from nucleus agribusinesses to their smallholder outgrowers. Constraints addressed by GCAP in this first call included quality land development, irrigation systems, water management systems, warehouses, mills, pack houses, feeder roads, electricity or power connections, and capacity building of smallholder or outgrower farmers working with the applying nucleus farmers. Bote Alabi is the project coordinator of GCAP.
The project seeks to develop agricultural sector in Ghana by promoting inclusive commercial agriculture along selected value chains under a nucleus agro scheme. The project is looking at the nucleus agro concept. How do we bring the smallholders on board? So we say, look, let's have a system where we can identify the nucleus farmers, merge them with the small scale farmers. So this is basically the project concept.
The Savanna Agric and Trading Company Limited was successful in the application to GCAP. They were awarded a sum of $300,000 for developing 1,375 acres of land, construction of a 500 metric ton warehouse, and provision of technical support for the company and building the capacity of the company's outgrowers. Galina Okaite Akun gives us an insight into SATCO's proposal.
Savanna Agric Trading Company Limited, SATCO, responded to the GCAP call for proposal sometime at December 2014 to remove binding constraints from commercial agric businesses in Ghana. SATCO applied to GCAP to help support in the construction of a warehouse, a 500 metric tons warehouse. He also applied to do quality land development for 550 hectares of land for himself and his outgrowers. We also gave him some money for capacity building to improve the skills of his outgrowers on best agronomic practices. As part of the support, we also gave him some money to be trained to implement the GCAP grant, so what we term as management support. As part of implementing the GCAP program, SATCO last year was able to develop more than half of the 550 hectares and cropped on it. The results from his fields and his outgrower fields was very impressive. The yields were higher than before, and the outgrowers actually improved their gross margins.
As part of its implementation activities, the company's 200 outgrowers had access to 250 acres of developed land for the cultivation of rice. Outgrowers now didn't have to spend resources on developing land. They were also trained in good agronomic practices that helped improve yields. Outgrowers will be having access to a storage facility in the form of a warehouse that will store their produce till they can receive good prices on the market. The warehouse will be equipped with a laboratory to test the quality of grains the company produces when completed. Technical training was given to these outgrowers in the form of training on topics like good agronomic practices, group dynamics and formation, farming as a business, and bookkeeping.
SATCO has benefited a lot from the GCAP program because when SATCO have outgrowers, farmers who are in the Chereponi district, and they have the strength on land, they have the land, but the actual lacking of fundings, and which SATCO as a link between the SATCO and the GCAP came in to actually support the outgrowers, because GCAP came in to give them money to develop land, and that land actually was 550 hectares, which SATCO used to do 200 hectares. By coming in of GCAP, we were able to move from 550 hectares with 8 outgrowers, and with the outgrowers are having 200 hectares.
GCAP's intervention has been a lifesaver for Savanna Agric and Trading Company Limited and its outgrowers. They now have access to developed land with no restrictions. Their ability now determines the size of their farms. They now have the skills and knowledge to apply in cultivation to get an increased yield. Post-harvest losses are things of the past. The warehouse and its laboratory will ensure quality grains are stored for peak periods where produce can command higher prices.
With the support of GCAP, I can also be counted amongst the successful persons in this community. At first, we used to farm on only 1 acre of land and didn't know the right seeds to use even. But with the support of SATCO and GCAP, we have acquired adequate knowledge to enable us increase our produce. Though a woman, I can boldly say I can comfortably pay my children's school fees. I can also afford our hospital bills, etc. Years ago, our role was in the kitchen, but that has changed by the help of GCAP, and I am a proud GCAP. I am an outgrower and very proud.
Female farmers have seen a change in their smallholder farms thanks to GCAP's support, equal access to inputs and arable land. They now don't have any major challenge that impedes on productivity. This has translated them into having enough income to take care of their family. They don't have to rely on their husbands for income. Livelihood has been enhanced due to increased income and food security. GCAP's intervention has seen an increase in memberships of outgrower groups. Group members are so enthused about farming, so much so that they are encouraging the younger generation to take up farming and shed the idea of going to the south to look for menial jobs.
My group's name is Titito, meaning let's help one another. Years ago, we had access to 1, 2, or 3 acres of land, but today, with the help of GCAP and SATCO, our farmlands have increased drastically, causing our productivity to increase. We basically used to farm for consumption for years, but today, we don't only farm for consumption, but to market some of our produce. This has helped cater for our children's school fees, hospital bills, etc. SATCO trained us in the selection of seeds and appropriate land for planting. The knowledge we acquired has helped increase our yield. Also, we now understand the weather patterns and the right season to plant in, etc. Another challenge was that